Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another installation of And She Rants. Word a big bird, you heard? Okay, I'm not a rapper. Anyway, today we're talking about the topic of rejection. You don't get to reject me. Oh no, you don't reject me. I reject you. Okay? How many of us talk like that in situations, whether it's relational or it's with work? There's just this idea behind rejection that just puts a bitter taste in my mouth, maybe your mouth too. I've had situations where I've kind of just been like, I can't handle the idea of rejection, so much so that I will prevent myself from actually taking action on things that could be really great opportunities, that could be in relationships. You know, you see a guy, you're like, he's cute, he's out here, we're at this event, let me go talk to him. But that little voice of fear in your head is like, actually, I'm literally not going anywhere. I'm going to mind my business and stay right here where I belong. And if you want to get rejected by me, potentially, you can come over here and we can make that situation work. That's usually how we think about things. At least I have. And if you haven't, then stop lying. Okay, stop lying. And then also in situations, maybe with a job, you're just like, I'm too afraid of getting rejected. Maybe you know someone on that team that you're trying to move over to, or you know someone at that company and you just don't want the rumors to spread that you tried and you failed. I think sometimes we get into this space where we lose out on a lot of really great opportunities in life and learning moments for ourselves because we're so afraid of rejection. And I just have a few things to talk about, 3 things that I kind of think about for myself when I'm afraid of being rejected and just don't want to have that experience and worry about what I look like or what I'm really in my head as it relates to being rejected. So the first thing is that vulnerability is not a negative, and we need to practice being vulnerable with ourselves. I think today it's really hard to see vulnerability in an authentic way. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is because I don't need to see your vulnerable moments, sis. I think it's beautiful when I see someone be vulnerable in front of me, but it's also a gift that I don't take lightly. I do not expect you to be your most vulnerable publicly, because who really can do that? If you can, I commend you. Or if you happen to be pushed into a circumstance where you have to, I apologize and I commend your ability to do so. However, social media has kind of made us think that we are seeing all of the most, vulnerable, transparent moments in people's lives, and we're actually just seeing highlights and clips that may include vulnerable moments, but we don't actually see that vulnerability. And I think each of us kind of get into this habit of feeling like, yeah, I've been vulnerable today. I talked about something that was uncomfortable to me in front of somebody else. But do you sit with yourself and experience that true vulnerability? Or are you worried about what the outcome of that may be? Are you afraid of it maybe? Are you avoiding it? Are you avoiding being vulnerable with yourself because of what it might unpack for you or what you might uncover about yourself? So I think it's really important for each of us to be able to sit in the mirror and look at yourself, and say, hey, I'm feeling rejected right now. I just got rejected by this job. I'm wondering if I'm smart enough. I'm wondering if anybody sees my potential. I worked so hard to build this skill set and it feels like nobody sees me. Does anyone see me? Or I just got rejected by this guy. I really liked him a lot and I thought we were vibing, but I'm feeling insecure about the beauty standards I see all around me, and I don't look like these girls. I don't look like those girls, and he seems to like those girls and he doesn't like me. He rejected me. What's the reason for that? I think we need to get into the space of being comfortable looking ourselves in the mirror and unpacking what we're really feeling. Because that vulnerable space that you're taken to when you get rejected is such an important learning moment. Those vulnerable moments that we have are so important and we forget that. And it can be the catalyst for so much change about how we see ourselves and how we view ourselves and how we think about ourselves. And it can just really, when you have that vulnerable space, you can change your worldview legitimately. So I think that's number one. You have to allow yourself to be vulnerable and stop thinking about vulnerability as a negative. It's okay. It's okay if the rejection takes you into a vulnerable space. It should. And what is important is what you take out of that vulnerability and learn from. So that's one. The second thing is the idea of closure and understanding that closure is not dependent on another individual. The reason that I bring up closure in the relationship to rejection is because oftentimes we want to resolve a feeling of rejection with a conversation with the individual who was a part of rejecting us. Our ability to be at peace is now subject to a conversation, affirmation, or whatever it may be from the other person who was involved. And we really have to move out of that space, because when we make our ability to move on or be at peace dependent on another person, we put ourselves at a lot of risk, of actually being to achieve a healthy worldview, mindset, and all of that, without someone else affirming us, without someone else telling us, now you can move on, now you can be at peace, now you can have this mindset, this worldview. I think it's really important for us as individuals to get to a place where our idea of closure is not so dependent on another person that we are stagnant in our own digging, our self exploration of the reasons why we're feeling so vulnerable or rejected or whatever. So that idea of closure and being able to work through things on your own is super important to me. That's a super short point. The next point that I have is something that has really been helping me, and it's someone, an individual, a job, whatever. They are entitled to their no just as much as I am entitled to my yes. As in, they have the right to say no to me just as much as I have the right to say yes to them. I can say yes to them and they can say no to me. And we are both in our right to feel that way about each other or job-wise at that time. And I think that has really helped me kind of get to a place where I realize, it's not all about me. It's not like, oh, Olamide says yes to this, so that's going to happen. It doesn't really work like that. And getting to a place where I can accept that, because it's kind of been hard for me to accept that in some situations. I'll talk specifically about men. Sometimes you're just like, I like this guy, so this is what it's gonna be. This is what it's gonna be. And then they could be like, I don't really like you. I'm just not interested. And I think the biggest part for that for me is that there isn't always some huge negative thing attached to that. The person doesn't have to be trifling. The person doesn't have to be trash. So hard for me not to say that, boop, just being honest. The person doesn't have to be, hate you. The person doesn't have to hate you. The person doesn't have to think that you're ugly. How many times has your friend done this? Girl, he doesn't even deserve you. Like, what? If he can't see that you're smart and you're funny and you're beautiful and you have all this going for you and you have a popping job, girl, and you're making a name for yourself, girl, you could even switch industries. Okay, I'm talking about, am I gassing me? Am I gassing me or what? But I'm just saying, it doesn't, how many times have you heard one of your friends say that to your other friend or to you? How many times have you been the person to open your mouth and say that? And the real thing behind that is we have to get away from this idea of thinking that someone not saying no to you is attached to a negative idea of you. Sometimes it's just not the right fit. Sometimes it's just not the right fit. Sometimes it's just not the right person. It's just not the right time. And you have to be okay with that. Sometimes it's just not right. You can't really explain it. You just have a feeling. There's just some discernment that you have, this isn't my person, this isn't the right job for me, this isn't the right city to move in, this isn't the right friendship anymore. You have to accept that there's rejection that's not attached to some huge negative idea about you. And when you get into that space, it's easier for you to move into this healthy mindset of I don't have a decision over why people choose to reject me. I just have a decision of how to respond to rejection. That's it. And I think it's a really good place to get to when you realize that there doesn't have to be a negative about you for you not to fit into a space. And if you try to make yourself fit into a space that you don't, have you ever had to make yourself small so someone else could be big? Have you ever had to squeeze yourself down to fit into some space and you're wondering, why can't I move my arms? I can't move my arms, bro. Why can't I move my arms? You can't move your arms. Because you're in this situation that you don't belong in. Instead of allowing yourself to be rejected. You fought to stay in a space that makes you small and uncomfortable just so that you could feel secure about yourself. Who's done that? Oh, you don't have your hand up? You lie. You lie. Okay? How many of us have done that? I think it's important for us to get to a comfortable space where we can admit to that human behavior and desire to be liked, to be accepted, and to not be rejected. You should be working towards doing the work to understand the why behind you behave the way that you do. That's just the 3 pieces of advice I have about kind of thinking about, how you fit into the world and rejection and how you see yourself. For me, I've had to think about that a lot because I'm throwing myself into the dating pool. Tell your mama them, tell your daddy them, your uncle them, their cousins them. I don't want those individuals. I just want you to let them know. But yeah, so getting into this space of trying to, start dating and looking around and seeing what's out there, you realize like I can be rejected by men. Little did I know as an adult, that's really, look how the tables have turned. If you liked this, like, comment, talk to me. What do you feel about rejection? What are some of the things that you've worked through or lessons that you've learned? Subscribe to my YouTube channel, okay? And I'll see you next time for the next rant. Bye-bye.